So Paul Wilcox is Managing Director of Nissan Great Britain. He joins me live from a dealership just outside of London. Mr. Wilcox, thank you so much for speaking to us. So, you know, we were just hearing from our reporter, Mike Fern. He's in Tokyo right now, and he was talking about how Nissan is having to import parts from a factory in Tennessee to make up for the shortfall that you guys are now facing in Japan. Can you update me on the situation at your plants over there?
Well, what we can say is production has resumed in many of the factories in Japan. The issue, I guess, is tier one suppliers in terms of supplying components. In Europe, we're in a slightly different situation. Only around 5% of the cars sold in the UK, for example, are sourced from Japan. Obviously, manufacturing in Sunderland accounts for 80% of our volume here. So we think in the short term, in the UK specifically, we don't think there will be much impact. The question is midterm, and it's too early to assess the impact effectively from our first-tier suppliers.
How concerned are you about the situation there right now? Electricity supply cut short, rolling blackouts, shortages, how that's going to impact production?
Well, our first thoughts are with those that are impacted. This is about people and the families of those people that are directly impacted. And a lot of the effort of Nissan now is to help in terms of the reconstruction support to the people on the ground. In terms of the manufacturing, as I've already said, we have opened up the facilities again, apart from one manufacturing plant which produces engines. And obviously, disruption in terms of supply of electricity to production will have an impact. But we believe, certainly from a European point of view, that the impact will be minimal, as I've said, in the short term.
Sure. And can I ask you, you just mentioned the plant in Iwaki, I think is the one that you're referring to, that builds engines, which is the plant that is closest to Fukushima, where the damaged nuclear reactor actually is. From what we know at this point in time, I know that it's a fluid situation you're still assessing, but is that going to remain closed indefinitely for now?
No, I think at the moment it's around 80 kilometres away, so it's certainly well outside of the exclusion zone. So the impact there is pretty much the impact from the initial earthquake and assessing, I guess, the damage there. But also in terms of supply and getting components and supply to that facility. So it's not about a shutdown due to its proximity to the nuclear facility.
So the impact of aftershocks on your infrastructure, is that a problem?
Well, it has been, but my understanding is that, as I say, we wouldn't have opened the production again in the majority of our facilities if it wasn't safe, and the facilities were ready to go in terms of producing. So we're quite confident the infrastructure of Nissan is pretty much intact, and outside of component supply, we believe we're ready to obviously resume production.
You're resuming production, but at what point or how long do you think it'll be before we see full production at full capacity, pre-quake levels?
Well, at this point, it's very difficult. I think the issue, the uncertainty today is we cannot ascertain the full impact in terms of component suppliers, and that is really the issue, is the chain of suppliers, both also tier one suppliers, the direct suppliers to Nissan, but also the suppliers to our tier one suppliers. And our assessment on that is, has not been fully finalised. So until we understand that, we won't really know the true impact. But what I can say is, in the short term, certainly from a European perspective, and here in the UK, we see minimal, if any, disruption in terms of supplies to customers. But the midterm is a little bit uncertain. So the next 4 or 5 months, we're not completely certain what that impact will be.
And if I can ask you, you're in the midst of launching a new model, the Leaf electric car, and I know that your focus is very much the UK, obviously, sales in Europe. But I understand that the first shipment from Japan has already sold out. Do you expect demand to be as strong elsewhere?
Right. Well, I mean, the car has been a massive success in all the markets it's been launched so far. Here in the UK, we've had the initial supply of 313 Leafs come to the UK. They're sold. We have an order bank of more than 600. As soon as people get a chance to drive the car, see the car on the roads, I'm confident that we'll be sold out. The first year's allocation will be sold out within 2 or 3 months. Very
briefly, Mr. Wilcox, there have been some supply problems with the rollout in the US. Do you expect supply to meet demand over there?
No, I think, to be honest, I mean, the demand will far outstrip supply. The reaction by customers has been huge. We've had a pre-order bank that was far in excess of what we anticipated. People were ordering the car without driving and seeing the car. And we believe once people drive the car on the road, because it's a car that's designed from the ground up to be an electric vehicle, so it's not a converted existing internal combustion engine vehicle converted to electric vehicle. So the packaging is very, very good. Dynamics of the car are very strong. Once people see it, drive it, we know the demand will be great. So we will have an issue in terms of meeting demand.
Paul Wilcox, UK Managing Director of Nissan, thanks very much.